Hi, everybody. Welcome to ConvHERsations with Kristie. I'm Kristie Clayton, the founder of Herverse. HER is an acronym for Helping Executives Rise. And we do that in three ways. We have a peer community for second in command leaders, and we have another peer community for department leaders, and we do executive coaching for visionaries and business owners, second in command leaders, integrators, and leadership team members. If you want to know more about us and what we're doing, we'll have some information for you at the end of our conversation. But I'm really, really excited to introduce you to today's guest, Jennifer. We've known each other for a long time, and I'm so excited to have you on, Jennifer Zick.
Thank you so much, Kristie. It's a joy to pull up a seat at your hot pink seat, in fact.
I love it. I love it. Well, Jennifer, you and I have known each other for a long time, but for those who don't know you, who is Jennifer and what is Authentic Brands?
Yeah. So I started Authentic about 8 years ago from my kitchen table, and I had a two-pronged vision, and I didn't have the words yet to explain it, but the two-pronged vision was that I wanted to help great growing businesses overcome random acts of marketing and confidently grow. I knew that they needed the wisdom of experienced leadership at their table, and they often didn't have that. I didn't have the words yet to explain what that was. I soon discovered that what I was building was a fractional chief marketing officer firm. So fractional CMO is our realm of expertise. The second part of my vision was that I wanted all of my employees to love their life and love their work. And so I wanted to cultivate a team and a culture and a value system that allowed that to be possible in a world of quickly changing dynamics in marketing, right? We don't have to go it alone. So that's who Authentic is. We are a community of fractional CMOs that help great businesses overcome random acts of marketing and move confidently toward healthy growth.
I love that. It's one of my favorite taglines, and I repeat it often. And I've actually heard it. Somebody recently said it to me. What is that Jennifer Zick thing that she says? You know, that random acts of what? And it's such a great way, but it's so true because marketing needs to be extremely consistent, right?
Yes, absolutely. And what happens naturally for entrepreneurial businesses, and I know this because I lived it in a fast-growing entrepreneurial business, is that they start off founder-led, very visionary. And then they have to be sales driven because you don't have a company till you can sell something more than once. And then once you've sold it more than once and twice and 10 times, you become operationally kind of critical mass. And along the way, you've been naturally creating random acts of marketing, evolving your position, evolving who you are, what you sell to who. And then you get to a point, usually it happens at around 5 million in revenue, where, we have something of substance and we want to scale. And now we need to be strategic. We can't just throw spaghetti at the wall. We need our strategy to map into all the tactics we're doing. We need to understand who we're targeting and how we're going to make a difference for them. So that's usually where Authentic enters the picture for those growing businesses.
That's so cool. That is so cool. Lots of fun things that you said there. But you and I met, gosh, was it really truly 8 years ago that we met?
Yes, it was, I think, almost 8 years ago. It was at the US conference here in Minneapolis, and I was in my first year of starting my business. So between 7 to 8 years ago, and you were such a dynamo connection in that event. You were unforgettable. So that was the spark of a friendship that has grown ever since.
That's so sweet. Thank you. Well, and we share common interests. We really have a passion for building community and for building, things that are really making an impact beyond just us, right? I mean, there's lots of people I know that, their goal, and if this is your goal, it's fantastic, is, just to simply put money in their pocket. But there's others that really, truly want to make an impact, right? They want to impact the team that they're working with the community. And for me personally, it was really, truly the integrator community too, not just my local community. And we kind of shared that interest.
We did. And we came at it from different angles. But what I've loved the most about our friendship is that it's always been through the lens of abundance and help first, and that there's room for all of us to contribute to lifting up this community. Because as you were building the early days of FIM, the Female Integrator Mastermind, that original brand, I was sitting in a visionary and integrator seat as a startup company with just a couple people trying to figure it out on my own. And I was here in Minneapolis thinking, I want other people here in Minneapolis that I can riff with and build community with and who are on this journey. And so I set out to host an event at my office, which was scheduled for April of 2020. And you know what happened then, right? Nothing in person happened then. And so we did virtually. And suddenly we had people from around the country joining because there was such a craving for connection and community in that chaos. And I realized it's not just me that's craving connection. We all need this. We're stronger together. And even though my core business is in the CMO and marketing realm, by showing up and offering a space for those integrators who are the next to turn the heads of the visionaries, and they have a lot on their shoulders to come together and just be honest and authentic and helpful to one another. It's been such a blessing. You know, we offer that as just our service to the world, because we know that when you help without expecting anything in return, because you care, people feel that care, and that translates into trust, and that trust translates into your top of mind when they have a need that you can help with. So it's been a real blessing, and I've loved being side by side with you. We've collaborated, we've partnered, we've shared insights. We've just been with each other on the journey, and I love that.
Agree. It's, it's funny how like people can really go down one of two paths, right? They can either collaborate together and have an abundance mindset. And listen, your organization's not for everybody. My organization's not for everybody. So, but people can choose where they're really comfortable. But you and I really came at it from a different standpoint of, we don't have to be competitors. We can offer what we offer and attract the people that are meant to be with us. And along the way, it was like, well, great. What are you doing? What am I doing? And how can we build each other up and really support one another and not come at it? Because the other side is you can be really competitive and catty and nasty, right? And I've experienced that one too many times, and I don't want to do that anymore.
I agree. And I'm currently listening, maybe you're listening too. I feel like this is very timely and relevant, but I'm currently listening to Mel Robbins' book, Let Them. And a whole piece of that just resonates so deeply with me as she talks about jealousy and competition and people who get stuck there. And they're like, well, if she's already doing it, she stole my opportunity to do it. Or I wish I would. You get stuck there. But when you see somebody who's doing something that is inspiring to you, that can be a crumb trail. That can be a clue. That can be a motivator for you. Like, your win is not my loss, right? Your win helps me see how I can also win in a different way that is me and what I want to bring to the world. And that's how I've always felt. And I have never understood people who are like, oh, scarcity mindset. This is mine and you're on my turf. It's like, geez, we should be looking for ways to help each other have more impact.
Agree. I mean, there's plenty of opportunities for everybody, right? Like, my organization can't support every single person. Your organization can't support every single person. So let's find the ones that fit for us and help them the best that we can. And if we're not the right fit, then I want to know where a right fit is for them and how to get them connected to you.
Absolutely. Right? Yes. Yeah. And thanks for inviting me to this ConvHERsation as a way for us to support each other. I
love it. Well, hey, listen, I know culture is something that's really, really important to you, but you said something to me that really impacted me, like right before we were getting ready to have our conversation. And you said, I want to create a space for to create a different table for women to have a seat at, which is similar to what I say, that I want to create confidence in women to have a seat at any table they want to sit at, right? Yeah. So tell me about this passion. Where is this coming from?
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Well, when you reach my age, you've by this point in life, you've collected a number of experiences, right? So we've all had our journeys along the way. And I've had the opportunity to work in small businesses, mid-sized, PE-backed, privately held, large corporate, global, all of these different scenarios. I've gotten to touch and experience a lot of different cultures. But all along the way, in most of the places where I worked, it was a mostly male-dominated industry, and I was often the only female at the table, or certainly, as far as I can remember, in most cases, the only woman at the table who also had a full-time working husband, right? Like, and so like my life and how I was navigating growth in my career and what it meant to partner in my life and what it meant to show up was a certain, grouping of experiences. Some of the cultures I worked for were great, and some were incredibly toxic. And it was actually the loss of a job within a very toxic culture that launched Authentic in the first place. It was the first time I'd ever lost a job. It's a job that I should have frankly left 12 months sooner because I saw the signs, but I thought I could grind it out and make a difference. And when I lost that job, it was such an awakening for me. And if I'm really honest, Kristie, if this is a safe space to be honest,
absolutely.
Authentic was launched 80% out of anger and 20% out of love at that point in my life, because losing a job felt really personal. But that anger and all those emotions, thankfully, it didn't take too long to work through that process of forgiveness of the people and myself that put me in that situation, and turn that into an authentic pursuit of creating something very different, and being intentional about, there might not have been a seat for me at that table, and I should have stepped out of it, but I didn't. And so I was pushed out of it for my own good. And now I get to set a different table, and I get to craft it in the way that honors the people there. And so, and that's where that other pillar came from for me, that I want my employees to love their lives and love their work. That's something I believe strongly in, that we can hold both of those truths at the same time. And so my table has a space for a whole diversity of people, men, women, and all the people, but it's going to be a workplace and a culture that honors people first, and really supports them loving their life. So I just unpacked a whole lot in that, but just, the summary on that is like, I've seen some things, Kristie, and those things have helped me to see myself more clearly and to grow and, hopefully mature in some ways, and also to kind of hit a reset and say, this is who I want to be. This is how I want to be going forward.
Yeah. First of all, thank you for, being in a space where you felt, you were comfortable enough to share and get vulnerable there, because I think what you just said could actually really impact a lot of people, that sometimes the decisions we make come from different emotions, and it's not always joy and happiness, right? Sometimes sometimes it is anger, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's all these other things. So Jennifer, if you don't mind, I'd like to just kind of share like a little bit more there, if you don't mind. Like 80% anger and 20% love, like that's a lot. That's a lot, right?
A lot of feelings. Well, and like I said, I feel like a lot of women that I know and have had honest conversations with about our career journeys and our experiences, most of us have collected enough experiences over the years that we didn't feel we were in safe environments to really address head on. And we stuff it down, and we show up, and we try to play by the rules, and we try to earn our seat at the table that hasn't been crafted to support us many times, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a lot that we've stuffed down and leaned in to get to where we've been. And that stuffed down stuff, if you're not dealing with it in a healthy way, it builds up, whether you recognize it or not. And so for me, losing my job was, it felt really personal, but what it did was losing your job anytime through a layoff or a job loss of any kind is hard, and it hurts, and it feels personal no matter what the reason is, right? Mm-hmm. It's a loss. You have to grieve that. But in that moment, because of the dynamics and the dysfunction in that culture I was working in and the leadership I was working under, it also triggered. It triggered a whole history of things that I had like powered through, stuffed down, didn't have a safe place to talk about it. Other women around me living through it that were talking about it. And so it was a trigger, and I was angry. I was like, I am so over it. I am going to do this on my own, and I will show them. That was 80% of the fuel that got me over to take the leap of faith as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
But in the leap, I also am grateful for my faith, because my faith brought me back to like, who am I? What do I believe in for real? I don't want to be a bitter, angry person. I want to make decisions out of love, not anger or fear. I want to approach this life with boldness and faith and confidence, not with anger and bitterness, right? And so it was in the early days of building the business that I also was just processing a lot of my history of being a woman in the workforce in a usually male-dominated industries. And let me just say loud and clear, I love so many of the men that I've worked with and for, and they've been champions and friends. But there's also been other experiences along the way with both men and women. And all of us women know that there are certain cultures in which you feel like you need to reshape yourself to have a seat at that table. So anyway, I'm just over it. And so now one of my, key tenets is I refuse to work with jerks. I just am not working with jerks. Life is too short to give our time and energy and our talent to toxic people and help promote their businesses. So no more
Yes.
jerks. I've had it.
No more jerks. I love it. I love it. That's one of my core values too, is like no more, like, no, I'm just not doing it anymore. Like, I've learned enough about myself to know what value I bring to the table, and you're not going to diminish that, nor are you going to keep me from providing my value. Right. And if you can't recognize it, then I'm not at the right table.
That's
right. I'm going to go to a table where I'm welcomed and appreciated and valued. And that's the tables that I choose to sit at. Right. You said something though. You said that, you were kind of forced out. And I love that you also talked about your faith, because what I have seen more times than I care to count with my clients and with myself even too, is that sometimes, whether you call it universe or God, I personally call it God, sometimes he has to give us that swift kick in the butt, right? Where he's like, I've tried to get you to leave. You're not leaving, you're not listening. So I'm going to close the door for you. So sometimes those can really, truly be blessings in disguise. And it's up to us as to what fork in the road we're going to take, going down an abundance and hey, I'm going to overcome, or I'm going to live in bitterness. Because I know people like you, Jennifer, that were angry, and they're still angry today.
That's right. I've seen it too. And it's sad. And so I'm really grateful for, and I do have a faith in God. I'm grateful for the grace that I feel I've received, because we're all just humans. We're all going to feel emotions. We're all going to make decisions sometimes that aren't the best decision we could have made. But I absolutely believe that was a juncture that was planned for me, for my good, for my growth. And I'm so grateful. And soon after I started my business, when it was just me and my kitchen table and my first version of a VTO, right? Me, myself, and I deciding the whole plan. So I remember I wrote a blog called like, My Goal is Grace, because I had always been a lean in lady. Like, I'm a badass mama, full-time working, go-getter, all these things. And I had a trajectory planned, and I was on a mission with what was going to happen in my career. And I was just very type A, very control. My hand is on the wheel. I'm in control. And then life has a way of showing you, if you're paying attention, that you're really not in control of most things.
Well, that's an understatement.
Exactly. And so I might have been a little hard-headed about it, but a couple key disruptions happened right at that phase of my life. A few years prior, at age 35, I had survived a scare with ovarian cancer. Mm-hmm. And that rattled me and woke me up to the preciousness of our one life.
Yeah.
And then that job loss, like, opened the rest of the junk up to say, I have this one short, precious life. How am I going to use it for good? How am I going to do it in a way that's healthy? How am I going to do it with people I love, and not give away my energy in environments that aren't appreciating what I'm bringing to the table, or that aren't the right fit, or where I can't add the best value that I could bring to the world because of that environment? So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that my life got turned upside down, and all of the things I had planned got disrupted, because I would never be here if it weren't for those unplanned, unwanted disruptions.
Yeah. Because can you imagine if you were still in that place?
Oh gosh.
8 years later, like, you probably wouldn't be the person you are today, right? You would be a very, very different person. And personally, I really like the person you are today. So I would definitely, just am grateful that you went through this journey too, because it really has. And listen, all of us have, some sort of story like that, right? I've got my own where, there was that pivotal moment where you had to realize, hey, I've got a fork in the road here and I need to take it. So I want to ask you something. If there is a woman sitting on the other side of this screen that is like, that's my journey right now, that's where I am, what would you say to her?
Oh, I'd say, girlfriend, you are not alone. Like, it's okay to not be certain. It's okay to not be certain about the outcome, as long as you follow where your heart is leading you to take just the next step. Just the next step. I always describe the early days of my entrepreneurship. Okay, a little bit of backstory on that. When I launched Authentic myself at the kitchen table in March of 2017, with 3 little and middle kids and 2 mortgages and all the things and all the pressure and 0 clients and not even clarity on what I was selling yet, right? All just desire to do it. My husband was like, okay, we can make his income stretch and get us through till I find some clients. Well, 3 months into it, as I was just starting to kind of figure things out, my husband was laid off.
Oh.
And talk about an unwanted, unexpected disruption. Like, we looked at each other and I was like, maybe I heard wrong from above about what I should be doing with my life and I need to go get a job. And my husband was like, nope, you're right where you need to be. Let's trust the process. I'm going to find a job. And he's very specialized in his career and pretty senior. So thank God I didn't know at that time that it would take 10 months before he would re-land again. But like, it lit a fire under me. And I doubled down on my vision. And I'm so grateful that things started to fall into place. But the way I described those early days was like walking through a fog. I cannot see what's coming. I'm just taking a next step and trusting that the ground is going to rise up and meet my foot because I have no clue. Like, this is so scary. And the scariest thing I did in entrepreneurship was make a first job offer to a full-time employee that I had to pay for. And I did it while my husband was still looking for a job. And it was so scary. And the minute I pushed the paper across the table to extend a job offer, I'm not even kidding. This is so divine. My phone dinged. My husband had just gotten a job offer.
That's amazing.
Ladies, you got to trust. There's a plan. Take the next step. The ground is going to meet your feet. And as it does, your journey becomes a little more clear and a little more clear. So.
Absolutely. I just want to add one thing to what you just said too. It is okay to feel what you're feeling. It is okay to be 80% angry and 20% love and joy and live in that and take a day, right?
Yes.
But don't take two. Mary Pat Knight taught me that when very early on in my coaching with her, she said, Kristie, you need to feel all the things that you feel. And it doesn't matter what you're feeling. If you're feeling, love, if you're feeling, joy, if you're feeling hate, if you're feeling anger, if you're feeling disappointment, like you need to feel all of the things that you're feeling going through this situation. And you need to take a day, take a whole day to feel whatever it is that you need to feel, but don't take two.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I can't live there. I can't stay there forever in that disappointment or anger or any of the other things, but it is okay to feel what we're feeling.
It is. It's so okay. And it's also really normal to kind of be afraid all the time, because when you're stretching into a vision and you don't know exactly how it's going to come together, there's a lot of uncertainty in that. But yes, it's okay to be afraid as long as you keep moving, because fear is just there. It's just going to be something that you feel about the unknown territory. But bravery says, I see you, fear, and you're not going to stop me.
Yes.
I'm going to go. That's being brave.
I love that. I coach my clients. I had one of my coaches taught me this, and then I kind of expanded on what she said. She calls it scare-sided. Right? I'm scared and excited simultaneously, which I loved. And now what I coach my clients on is, listen, the gauge of your scared and excited can change, right? Sometimes it's 50-50. I'm equally scared and excited. Sometimes it's 80-20. Sometimes it's, 30-70. But it's really, truly just the persistence to keep going, right? Whatever that is, just keep going. Feel what you need to feel. Don't take two and just keep moving.
Yes. And find some safe people who believe in you. You can share your actual feelings with, and it's not going to be thrown back in your face as a weakness, right? Like find your people and find a safe space to be vulnerable in all these categories of our lives, of course. And work is a really big one. We spend a lot of our time here. So
we do.
Yeah, it's important.
We spend more of our waking hours in our working lives than we do at home with our families a lot of times. So it's such a huge part of our lives. And I don't know about you, Jennifer, but I don't believe in this work-life balance. I believe you have one life, and it incorporates into everything we're doing. So it's important to love what you do, enjoy it. And when we're feeling things that aren't aligned, we need to recognize it. And maybe it is time to, look at something different in a different lens.
That's right. Amen.
I love it. Well, friend, I knew, like, when we had this conversation, when we first started, I was like, there's no telling where this conversation could go, because you and I feel like we could talk for days and days and days and still have plenty to talk about. But I knew this would be so fun. And I'm so glad we did it, because I really, truly think that what you just shared, there's a woman on the other side of the screen, and a man possibly too, that is saying, wow, that's where I'm at right now. And I really think that you could have possibly made a big difference in somebody's life. So thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being willing to share.
Thank you for sharing your platform and letting me come and be your guest today. And I do hope that my life experience can shine a little light for other people. That's what we need to be doing, is helping give hope, helping, come alongside of one another. So yeah, I hope that the bumps in my road mean somebody else's road is a little smoother.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. That's what we all hope. Well, friend, I want to end our conversation with 3 rapid fire questions, right?
All
And
right.
you know me well enough to know it's honor, empower, and inspire. So honor for me is really, truly thinking about a woman of a past generation that made an impact on our lives or influenced who we are. So Jennifer, who do you want to recognize and honor?
Well, the first person who comes to mind and to my heart is my grandmother, my maternal grandmother. And the reason she's so special and is so inspirational in my life, we are very different, and our life stories were very different. She was a mother of 13 children with 3 sets of twins. I have 3 sets of children. 3 sets of twins. My mother is one of those 3 sets of twins. And my grandmother, of course, by the time I knew my grandmother, her kids had grown and gone. But she was such an inspiration to me because she lived in such a place of faith and trust. And she had mastered the art of healthy boundaries and just loving and accepting people and not letting other people's chaos stress her out. Because I've got 3 kids, and the fact that my son is falling behind on homework is stressing me out right now, right? Like not a lot of stressors, but my grandma she was a joy. She was always a joy. And if you entered into her home, she was present with you. And when you left, she left you with a blessing on the way out. And I just want to be more like her as I grow older, that I'm growing in that grace and that joy, and that I can be present with my people.
I love that. And 13 children, 3 sets of twins. Bless her. That's a lot of twins.
I had so many first cousins, I don't even know them all by first name.
I bet. Well, what about empower? Who is a woman of a current generation that is, in business or leadership that either empowers you or that you hope to empower?
Well, I dropped a clue on this earlier in our conversation, because right now in this moment, that the timely answer would be my good friend, Mel Robbins. She doesn't know my name, but I feel like I've been sitting at her table with a cup of coffee talking about her Let Them theory, the book that I'm listening to. It's so many truths that I've had to learn through the bumps in my life along the way, and so many that we didn't even talk about here today, but that I feel like she's just put a beautiful bow around so much of it that I'm sitting in my car in my commute listening to her share, and I'm like, yes, I get it. And so she's really empowering me right now to just live in some of those realities and truths, and let all the other people do their thing, right? And let me be right here being accountable for myself. So I'm loving what I'm getting from my friend Mel Robbins right now.
I love it. I hope she hears this and she reaches out and connects with you. Wouldn't that be amazing?
That would be amazing. I could just retire right then. Yeah.
We're speaking it into existence now. She's going to reach out. And last but not least is inspire, right? So who is a woman of a future generation that you hope to inspire?
Oh my goodness. I have 3 beautiful children and 1 amazing, unique, precious daughter. And she is, I love her. I love all my children so much. But when it comes to one woman that I want to inspire, I hope it's her. That like everything that I'm doing now, I hope that I'm setting an example that whatever path she chooses, whether it looks anything like the paths I've chosen, that she can show up as her beautiful, unique self, just the way that God made her. And to your point, feel empowered to sit at the table that she chooses. So I'm so already proud of her. She's a college senior this year, and she's doing so great. But yeah, that's the person I think of when I think of the next generation.
I absolutely love that. And I'm pretty sure I can step in and speak for her and say, you are definitely that role model for her.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for sharing. I'm so excited that we did this, and we'll definitely have to do it again soon. I'll see y'all again next week. If you're looking to connect with Jennifer, definitely reach out to her. She's an incredible, incredible friend to have.